some more speed records in this day and age. You need coverage.
Coverage? Oh, you mean them little root weevils that crawl around popping off cameras in your face?
Those root weevils write history.
Many of you know that quote by Jack Nicholson in A Few Good Men. You can't handle the truth. Well, you can, and Event Horizons will give you those truths. So when you're mad as hell and not going to take it anymore from that memorable scene network, you'll know just what to do. We will draw you in and become your news addiction at Event Horizons. Join us Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to noon Eastern Time at freedomslips.com. At Revolution Radio. Our world team members are Dennis Fetcho, John Ilias, David Dunger, Halakas MD, Melanie Bridgeton, Jim Mars, Paula Harris, John Trallo, Maria Payan, Christopher Husser, DODDS, Jonathan Orchard, and me, your anchor, Dr. Robin Falco.
If you decide not to volunteer, it will not be held against you in any way.
Sounds dangerous.
It is.
Very dangerous. Count me in.
And that's right here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps.
Enjoy your
extra big-ass fries.
You didn't give me no fries. I got an empty box.
Would you like another?
Extra big-ass fries.
I said I didn't get any.
Thank you. Your account has been charged. Your balance is 0. Please come back when you can afford to make a purchase.
No.
I'm sorry you're having
trouble.
trouble.
Come on. My kids are starving.
Thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio. Here at Revolution Radio, we believe in freedom of ideas, freedom of speech, but above all, we believe in freedom of existence through self-reliance. This station is 100% listener-supported, and as a fundraising promotion, I have a kick-ass free gift for a $100 donation. 35,000 seeds. 25 years in the freezer. Long-term storable, 54 different varieties. So if food prices go crazy, the shit hits the fan, or if you just want to save tons of money every year by creating your own food like I do, grab our seed pack special. Just look for the banner on the homepage at freedomslips.com. Don't be a statistic. Don't be part of the problem. Be part of the solution. We need, as humans, to start taking care of ourselves and not depending on the megacorps to provide unhealthy, nasty food. Included in this package is also a DVD with 900 survival and off-grid living documents and the offline home canning how to do everything website all on the DVD. So when you're growing all that food, you know how to can it, store it, preserve it, etc. with all these documents. So thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I hope that you will pick up this package and start learning to be free. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps and freedom is one seed that needs to be planted.
What we do in life, it goes in eternity.
Hello, everyone. Hello. My name is Joe Kiernan. Welcome to Researchers Radio Live. We're hosted by myself and Dave Stinnett. We have an interesting program tonight. We do have a guest joining us on the program soon enough by the name of Mr. Joseph Atwill, the author of Caesar's Messiah. And without further ado, I'd like to bring my main man, Dave Stinnett, and introduce him to everyone for the night. Dave, how are you, my man?
Joe. Yep. Another good Sunday. Another good topic.
It was a beautiful day today. How about for you, man? How's Jersey?
Oh, it was howling wind down here. I actually had a new metal roof put on my mountain house this weekend, so that was nice.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So you went up to you got out of town again for the weekend?
No, I was out last weekend. Got it all set up. This weekend I got kind of hung up, but the work was already done, so.
Right on.
Next weekend I'll go up and start working on the place, but probably just as well because I mean it was like typhoon down here today for some reason.
Wow, we had some good wind. I guess yesterday, the day before. I guess it was heading your way, but today was gorgeous here.
was to say the pollen was so thick it was like sheets of it just blowing around out here. So people, whoever had allergies were probably suffering pretty bad today.
I'm one of them. I'm having a hard one today. It's a rough one. But I'll tell you, it might have been 90 here today. It was just blazing hot.
Really?
Oh, man. Definitely high 80s. Definitely high 80s. Yesterday.
I hate you guys.
You'll get it soon enough. And you'll get it with a lot of humidity, too.
Actually, I like it the way it is. You can
Tim.
keep the 90s. Hi, how you doing?
Sorry about that. Everyone, Tim C's here. Tim C.
I'm here.
Hey,
I'm here.
Tim.
What's up, buddy?
I was gonna say I'll deal with the 75-degree weather that we have up here with the nice breeze. I'll keep that all year round. I don't need that 90-degree crap with all the humidity you guys get down there.
Well, you're pretty close to you're basically at the foothills of the Catskills now, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah. There was a number of years ago, I was building a house for a guy not far from you, maybe on the other side of Ellenville in the Catskill Mountains, but he was way on the top. And it was summertime, and it was really hot, but a bad storm was coming in, and it got so cold, and it might have been, let's say, 85 degrees, and then it dropped to maybe 50, but the wuss I said, it's so cold, it feels like it's going to snow. And the guy says, up here on this mountain, there's only 2 seasons, winter and July. I was like, all right, buddy. He says that's how it goes up here, and he wasn't kidding, because when the weather changes up there in those mountains, my God, it swirls around. It's rough. You'll find out soon enough, Tim.
Yeah.
Well, you're no stranger to that area.
No, I've been here most of my life. Did a stint in across the river and lived in Massachusetts for a little while, but can't get out of the Hudson Valley, man. This place has like it's got a magnet. It's like the ball and chain. You just can't leave. I don't know.
No, you're stuck there. It's it's your calling, and now you're in down Main Street, Pine Bush, Hudson Valley. That's where UFO hotspot.
Yep.
So you're the eyes and ears there for us now. Next week we have UFO Pine Bush historian Linda Zimmerman.
It's gonna be very nice.
That's gonna be nice. It's gonna be something new. We do have some good guests coming on soon, but I'll tell you what, guys, we have a slot 3 weeks from now with no guest assigned in there, and something hit me today. Like a 2x4. No, I was thinking about having some sort of a trivia-based game with some listeners, and on 2 different teams, maybe Dave's team and Tim's team. And I'm just thinking about what prizes we could give out to the listeners. I have a few really good things I could give out, but that's only what it means to me. I don't know if it's something good to someone else, but I'm going to think about it. And I don't know how you guys feel about it.
You're not trying to clean out your garage again, Joe.
No, but that's a brilliant idea.
Sounds like to me.
Way to spring cleaning, right?
Look, it's Italian. It's fragile.
I have a few really good ideas, but I'm thinking I would like to do something like that, some sort of trivia-based thing for some fun. At least it'll be fun for me to get some laughs at the both of you. It'll be hilarious. Some trick questions.
Well, hey, that's nice, Joe.
Yeah, I aim to please.
We like curveballs.
Evidently, Tim, you and I are going to have to get together.
Apparently.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be Jeopardy time. But guys, before the show, we were talking real quick, and I didn't want to lose track on it because I kept the page open. For all the listeners at home, we were discussing right before the show came on the air about a post I put on my Facebook page. And if anyone wants to make their way there, my name is Joe Kiernan, and you could follow or suggest for an invite for friends. It's an open page. You don't even have to do that to view it. You're more than welcome to just view it if you like. But on that page, I put a few things in regards to the discussion for today's show. And one of the topics I put on 2 days ago was a discussion in the Yucatan Peninsula of ruins found containing 1,000 Maya codices that were put in there. And it was pretty cool. They found a nice shaft, well constructed, all made of stone. And
underground library.
Yeah, way underground. several chambers and hidden chambers, and even as far as to deem one a secret chamber, because the stones were so large, they felt the room had to be there, but it would have really destroyed a nice site if nothing had been there. And with testing from down below and from above, which is really remarkable with aircraft that they're shooting through 50, 60 feet of soil into a stone chamber room. But nonetheless, it was done and confirmed a secret chamber. And within that chamber, it's estimated 1,000 codices were recovered. This is a legitimate claim that's come out. However, I haven't seen any of these myself. I haven't seen any pictures of them. This is usually the case when it comes to something as moving as this. A few different, I'm sure a few different political figures and religions are going to want to review and inspect before a full release. I hope that's not the case.
Or confiscation.
Well, yeah. I mean, like this is very reminiscent to me of the Dead Sea Scrolls, which we all know are remarkable, one of the greatest finds of the 20th century. However, it's really just a percentage. We really only have half to view, maybe just a little bit less. I know a lot of them are fragmented, and they're not quite sorted out which ones go where. However, there's a few scholars that had worked on them initially that said the big key ones haven't been released, and that's still the case today. And it's I think we're at about 70 years on those, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so 46, right? 1946, I think it was.
It was. Yeah, I think you're about right on that. So I really hope this is not the case with the Mayan codices. I don't know. I obviously don't know why they would hide them if they did.
You know what, man? It is a damn good time to be an archaeologist with this ground-penetrating radar. I mean, they're just finding stuff left and right all over the world.
It's very true. It's very true. But I still feel overall the archaeology and just the ancient research in the field needs more help. It needs a little more speed. I know things you really can't rush along, but there's really not a whole lot of archaeological digs going on here in North America. Overall, there's really not. And I know there's a lot of other places in the world that require archaeological digs. However, there's a few places right here in the States that I wouldn't mind getting into.
Well, I'd like to see like Rock Wall, or the place out in Ohio where that wall with all the rune type writing on it that they basically unearthed, and everybody took pictures and drew pictures of it, and then they covered it back up, and that's pretty much what they did with Rock Wall out in Texas.
Yeah, I think it was America.
It's very old structures.
I saw that one. Yeah, Texas.
Yeah, I'm learning a lot more about the mounds in Ohio. It's really remarkable. I was just reading something yesterday, and it said that 7 miles off the coast of Ohio in Lake Huron, that they found what looks like a little city going back 8 to 10,000 BC, and it's 250 feet underwater, and they feel it was right on the coast at the time. There was civilization there because apparently, again, no pictures, but apparently it was close to the shore, so much so that they said a little causeway, a little land bridge was built to separate from one side to the other. And that still remains. So either they're really embellishing it, or they felt it was still intact enough to identify that. And that's one of the only key geological things that they pointed out about it, which is very impressive to me, that they could identify that.
What's even more impressive is have you guys seen the aerial shots over Lake Titicaca?
Yeah, I have.
And it looks like a jaguar chasing a rabbit. And
something like that.
I mean, it looks just like a jaguar going after a rabbit. I mean, there's no way you cannot miss that. But evidently, they had carved that out once upon a time, and the only way you can really see that is from the air. And when you see it, you can't really mistake it for anything else other than that. If you Google, Lake Titicaca, jaguar and rabbit, the listeners can see what I'm talking about. But it's pretty blatant. But somebody did a massive earthworks that can only be seen from the air there. So I find that interesting.
And that's a deep lake too.
Yeah, it
from
is.
what I understand. I mean, obviously, water levels rise and lower, but
well, you get places like Ponape, and it's built. It's in the middle of the ocean, basically. I mean, they took these great big long basalt rods of sorts and stacked them on top of each other from the bottom of the floor up. And there's islands, but they are completely man-made islands. And
isn't
that's
that non-module or non-module?
Namadol, yeah.
Right.
Says we have someone here in the chat room from the station here, Lady Horse, fantastic contributor, very, very clever. It says here to me, Joe K, I have many fears for those codices in regards to the Mayan codices. Either of you feel any necessary for that? I mean, I can too. I could see it both ways. Something caused the. I mean, we understand the conquistadors were trying to convert. We understand that, but there really was just a mass wipeout on knowledge, not just the collection and shipping off of the treasures, but they really did a commendable effort of the time for collecting the knowledge and burn it all away. And we know that because we rarely find any. And
I have to say, in this day and age, no, I don't feel scared about it. I understand the feelings, but I'm hoping that we can look back in history and realize the big mistake we made, because the Dresden Codexes contain some of the most intriguing information from that civilization, and if we had more to go on, it would be awful nice. Hopefully this secret library that they discovered has some equally interesting books as well.
I think in my generation, in my time, I truly do believe I'm going to see a large opening of lost information come out to us. Maybe a little bit from here. We also know from the Mayan civilizations, there's the little known work that was kept in the Medici collection in Florence forever. And that's known as the Florentine Codex, or the Medici Codex. And it's still in their museum. It's still in the Uffizi today. And the Vatican is also in the process of scanning and digitalizing their entire library. And that's a 40-year project. And they claim every document and codex in the library will be digitalized and made public. However, they will all be just put with a file number. They won't be titled or indexed. If you don't know what you're looking for, you're just going to be looking at very old documents in Latin or Old Greek or Hebrew.
Well, what's the point? Why would they go through the trouble of scanning and producing this for the public and not?
Well, their reply is they have nothing to hide. And yes, that's the other one that was a guarantee for a backup for storage. Heavens forbid things ever happen to that library. I know it's an off-limits library per se. However, we still understand a great deal of knowledge is held in there, whether it's accessible or not. I've looked at a few of the scans. I have found a few that I was kind of happy to find. Just very interesting. Good to see that they're not just putting careless, useless writings on there. They're really putting things up there, and it's in Old Latin in most of them, and my Latin's not great. And it's different between a Latin print and a Latin handwriting that's 500-800 years old.
Yeah, true, Joe.
And a lot of even if you could read the letters clearly enough to identify the word, that might not be known in any Latin circles today. There's words that come and go all the time, even today. So they're very difficult documents, and without putting a title or the index for it, as we were just saying, it's really going to be a hard time for people to find lost secrets, but this does open that door for new discoveries. You might not find a map, a 800-year-old map on a shelf, but you might really find something that someone hasn't laid eyes on in 400 years, and it might fit into. It might not have made sense 100 years ago, this document, but it might fit in, common research we come across today.
It'll take a while before they get those cataloged and indexed, and
it would be nice if they did, though. I mean, they've got the money, that's for sure.
And there's, you have to get people who can translate that stuff and translate it to the modern vernacular. And this way, when you're reading it, you can read it in multiple languages. I mean, it's going to take a while. And my guess is that anything of any great importance is probably going to be, kept out of the public domain anyway. So
right.
Well,
that's the grain of salt right there.
I hope not, and only because the Vatican had made the statement that and I quote, "Because we have nothing to hide." I just want to be very clear.
Yeah.
It was yes for preservation.
Don't get us started, bro.
I just want to be clear. This is not my words. Tis theirs.
Right.
I listen. I'm really happy that they're doing it, and let's be real. If there are things in there that the church doesn't want everyone to see, they're not going to be scanned and digitalized.
I'm an eschatology student, Joe. That's the stuff that I'm looking for. So.
I'm a cynic at heart. What can I say?
Well, I could tell you guys this. There's the Pope that's currently at the Vatican. There was a photo op that was taken about 3 months ago, and he was in the Vatican library in the exclusive part. And there is an old book written by Philo of Alexandria that is it's supposed to be everything the church doesn't want you to have, at least in the year 1500. This was a huge no-no. This was an instant, you're lucky if they just kill you, or you probably got the slow cooker. You probably got roasted very slowly.
Blaspheme!
But however, of course, naturally, I want to read this book. There's only 2 known to exist, and one of them has been in a private collection family for over 300 years, and the other one's in the Vatican. And it was so odd because the photo op had this one book, this exact book displayed on a pedestal to be read, and this was the book that the Pope was reading during this photo op. And I said, this is wild, because this might be that one book. If I had a choice, if they said, Joe, you have an opportunity to grab one book, this might be the one I chose. But
within the circles, Joe, I mean, and I went to a conference recently, and this was actually part of the subject, because when it comes to like killing Christians, the organized churches are probably ahead of everybody as far as that stuff goes. And what you find is there's a lot of like small groups basically, and they try to really adhere to what it says. But you have the institutional groups, and they're like, yeah, you have to do it our way. And they're basically saying, yeah, well, your way is wrong, and we can show you where you're wrong. But because they're so big and so powerful, they end up squashing these little places. And according to a lot of people, scholars in the circles, that they're basically saying that the church in America, in the next 20 years will probably be underground before too long, because you could just see how it's getting pounded now. They're expecting, the people who are basically, I guess, the evangelicals, to have a problem with them falling into line, because everybody within these circles also knows that the Vatican is trying to come up with like a universal, religious codex that will fit everybody, and we all know that ain't going to work. So there's more underground and lower currents that are working that people have no idea about. And we were discussing earlier how Netanyahu supposedly had asked the rabbis to surrender the Temple Mount or Jerusalem to the Vatican. And you have to ask yourself, well, why would you want to do that? So there's things going on.
I can't agree with you more. Do you think that, Dave, let me ask your opinion. Do you think that libraries such as the Vatican Library and other libraries really might have some game-changing information and knowledge that would affect day-to-day life globally?
Without a doubt.
So you do think that...
My money is that is so chock full of stuff that we couldn't believe it'd probably make our heads spin.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you just had that, I don't know, a few years ago, you had one of the lost books of Nostradamus. Now, you know, as a young eschatology student, I would study those guys. Before too long, you realize that the biblical stuff isn't in vague quatrains. I mean, it's very person, time, place specific type stuff. So you kind of gravitate to the stuff that's fairly solid. But you have, guys like Nostradamus, who evidently had written a book about the end times, and the Vatican had it, and somehow or other it had gotten released because you could see on the page it said property of the Vatican Library. But the tale it told basically was, that the wheel of time is going to end, and it's not going to go really well for the popes and the people in the Vatican. It looks like they're going to get whacked pretty bad. But,
well, it's an interesting time for you to even be saying that. This is a predicted time where we could possibly have two popes right now, or none. I don't. We're not too sure. But without really being rude, interrupting you, Dave, we do have a caller here from 517 area code. Hello, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Who do we have here on the line?
You got Lady Horse.
Hello, Lady Horse. How are you this evening?
I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you for joining in.
Well, you're welcome. My fears is that it's just going to be way too much knowledge that it's ancient knowledge, and we don't know that. And a lot of them don't take kindly to having knowledge put out there. So,
Lady Horse?
That's basically what I was saying. If there's anything that we need or we should know, they probably won't be telling us about it.
Right, exactly.
Lady Horse, what would you suggest could be a possible a fear or a worry of the Mayan codices being released or just analyzed and discussed?
I honestly believe it's ancient knowledge, and a lot of people don't want to know ancient. We have fallen so many times and picked ourselves back up, and that the technology that they had, we didn't have. I mean, you look at some of the structures that they've built, it's just my fear is that they're not going to let us know.
I agree with you. I'm one of the people who feel that we have achieved so much in the past that we're able to achieve it again. We've had the ability. We still do. We've just kind of lost our way a little bit. Now, why would we, if we all there's so many of us who are aware of that. We agree that we've just lost the knowledge. Why would we be so afraid of it? Do you think it's just instinctual to worry of change?
Worry of change, yeah.
Yeah.
That and the knowledge that they wouldn't believe in it, not being able to take it to heart.
I think you guys are onto something. It seems that the powers that be have very little faith in what the public can handle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, then you also have the other side of the coin, where historically, whenever a more technologically advanced society comes up on a lesser technologically advanced society, the lesser advanced society usually takes a pretty big hit. So introducing big gobs of mind-bending information wouldn't be good for the public at large. They'd have to kind of wean it onto us. But you also, there are psychological effects that have to be taken into account when you're going to release, massive amounts of, earth-shaking information.
Well, me being of native descent, I'm very interested in what they have to say.
I think we all are.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the results, and I'm sure, Dave, I'm sure you hit it right there, man. I'm sure it's just going to come trickling out a little bit at a time. Any big information, if it's dropped on us all at once, we publicly, as a culture, we kind of freak out a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder,
we'll
like,
go flip a cop car over or something.
They're doing experiments for like the holographic universe. So what happens if after those tests and running those tests they decide that the evidence is overwhelming that it is indeed that, How are you going to break that to the public? How does the public will the public really grasp what that really means? Because that is some really heavy stuff. And once the collective consciousness gets a grip of what that really means, that could spell disaster, could spell something else, but it could change the entire thought process of a planet. So again, I mean, nobody wants to see the stuff in the codexes more than me, but if it's, we all know if it's going to be something really heavy and earth shattering, which it may or may not be.
But you see, I don't think
that's how they're going to handle it.
I think that the public can handle, and I'm sure you guys agree with that from what we've been discussing, that they can handle much more than they're given credit for. And I'm saying them as in all of us. But I really don't think that much would change right off the bat. I think that most people would just go about their day-to-day business. And, what's really going to stores aren't going to close because of, whatever information. I mean, it's not like we know what the information is. We're speculating here. But, I mean, life will go on. I don't know. I don't see it being riots in the streets, and I mean, you never know. Who knows what it is that they're gonna what the information really is. But blood in the streets, riots. I don't know. Yeah, we are a mob society, no doubt about it. It happens. Look at all the riots that occur on a regular basis that aren't even televised. You read about it in news blurbs on. Smaller websites.
Maybe that's why all of our police departments have become paramilitary departments now. Maybe they're about to hit us with a great big bunch of stuff, and they need to prepare.
Well, you see on a lot of these sites, people saying that that's what it is. It's the economic crash that's about to occur, and this and that. But who knows? I don't know.
All right. Well, thank you for calling in, Lady Horse. We appreciate your input and your participation. Thank you so much.
Good. I like when people call in.
Yeah, wonderful contributor to the station and in chat. Wonderful mind. Great for conversations. Everyone, please go to freedomslips.com and get in the chat room if you're not. It's good discussions in there. Great people. You could ask questions, call in. 2 shows going on at once. If you want to call in the show, a direct line here is 843-491-6077, or you can call the main line for Studio B, 310-421-4053. And real quick, guys, before I want to move on here, I see someone in the chat room named What It Do. This is a friend of the program I mentioned before, gives us great feedback, great supporter by the name of Russ. Hello, Russ. Nice to see you in the chat. So, Dave, what I was burning to talk to you on air about was something that came up about a week ago now, and it was the 1,500-year-old Bible that came out with the gold lettering, and this one, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was found in Armenia, and I'm going to look on this right now. See, I have here, this Bible is 1,500 to 2,000 years old. It was found in Turkey. It's another thing I wanted to point out. It does contain the Gospel of Barnabas, which was a disciple of Christ. And the argument, it's not even an argument, the discrepancy is Barnabas has a different story stating that Jesus was not crucified, but he was a prophet. Now, this Bible here was discovered, it was taken by public authorities in Turkey in the year 2000, and it's just coming to light now. This is just another one of the few examples of great ancient literature that we've been finding over the last few years that it has been kept quiet. And I'm not speculating. I don't know why a lot of these ancient text findings are just trickling out. The one in Maya in the Yucatan Peninsula, that discovery is a few years old now too. However, these are really just coming to light now, quite a few, and from what I understand is we're going to have a few more coming.
It always seems like these come out when they're supposed to come out.
Yeah.
For some reason, like say like the Book of Daniel or how accurate the Hebrew texts were. I mean, they were under a pretty good bit of fire at the point in the game when the Dead Sea Scrolls were found, and when they compared them, I mean, not a jot or tittle was changed. Was pretty much right on the money. I mean, they nailed it, and it was full versions and the whole schmear. So that put all that stuff to rest. But it kind of came when it needed it to come. And usually when you find these type of caches, especially when they're civilization libraries of a civilization, you get a lot of religious books, a lot of prophecy books. A lot of these cultures were based around the stars and the moon, and so you get a lot of with it. But you get a better understanding where they're coming from. I mean, when they went to the Babylonian libraries and they finally took all those clay tablets back, 75% of those libraries were all prophecies. I mean, evidently they lived on this stuff. So I found that interesting.
That is fantastic. But with this particular Saint Barnabas, it's a Bible containing Saint Barnabas. It does have a different story of Jesus in it. But I want to be clear. 99% of it is accurate with all other Bibles of the time. Now, we also know, I don't want to be quick to jump to the conclusion and say this single text is the correct text, because we know that many different texts throughout the whole Mesopotamia region, what was Persia then, and even in Africa, and even still today in Ethiopia, there's still many different versions. There were several different stories when Christianity was coming to be, the evolution of the story that kind of fit certain communities, or as we all know, isolated communities. As generations go on, sometimes stories change a little bit if there's no circulation of it or an outside influence to confirm and discuss. So just because we have one book coming from the area, it's nothing to jump to and label as fact yet. The Vatican has asked Turkish authorities for them to examine and review it. That's customary, and that's also could be on behalf of many priests or cardinals that are truly just appreciative of ancient text and love the old writings and comparisons. I mean, it's a beautiful text. It appears to be written on some sort of a vellum in animal skin. It's very darkened.
Well, the worst part about it
might be
that
like a mammal.
The article says that the Vatican was in awe, but the biblical scholars weren't. They were like, they were picking that whole thing apart, from the get-go.
Well,
people also have to remember that, you have a lot of people. I mean, the early church fathers in those times were working really hard on keeping the story straight. So,
it does say the Vatican was in awe. It does, and I'll just chalk that right off the top as semantics. They're in awe about what? I mean, I would be in awe if you told me you found a 1,600-year-old Bible too. It doesn't mean that they're in awe of the contents. Like the article says, they would like to review it. They would like to read it. I mean, in all fairness, the Vatican is one of the few agencies, if you want to refer to them as that, and I am for the libraries department, that actually has scholars who are inept in able to read this and translate it. Whether you think the translation will be fair to our liking, regardless, they are an authority as to reviewing and reading it. And I do feel that library department has been more than fair and honest over the last few years. The Vatican Library has put out a few books that haven't been seen in hundreds of years over the last 5 years. And it's the first time they've done this in centuries.
So what are you saying? They've just been lazy?
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm going to have to go with you on that one, Joe. I mean,
I'm just happy to see the way it's going.
If I'm going to go with those writings, I don't go with an institutionalized version of writings. I'll go to Mike Heiser, because Mike Heiser can actually read those writings.
Well, I would like to talk to
the guy I'm going to go to, and Mike Heiser pretty much already shot this down. So, if I'm going to go to a world-renowned, cipher who reads and understands and studies this stuff, and
I got to see what Heiser says on this. We got another caller here, area code 604. Hello, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Who do we have on the line here?
This is SJ. I'm calling from British Columbia.
Oh, yes, I know this gentleman, Mr. SJ. How are you, sir?
Hey, JK, how are you?
What's up, my man?
Well, I wanted to comment on a couple of things. First of all, I wanted to call in and let you know that your number was working, so people could use it if they wanted to comment.
Thanks a lot.
It's a good conversation. I missed the last 15 minutes. I was shifted off. The studio normal number shifted me to Painter, and we were talking about technical issues and such like. So I missed a little bit of what you were talking about, but I believe that you were expecting to have Caesar's Messiah, Joe Stockwell, on, right?
Joe Atwill.
Or Joe Atwill. Well, Joe and me and his friends, the two people, Joe and two of his friends did a wonderful radio show here for the better part of a year.
Yeah, that's the same guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And unfortunately, I think those got lost in the archives, but it was absolutely brilliant. Wonderful discussions about alternative conceptual religions. And I think we're in an area where experimenting with your own personal beliefs is going to become relatively commonplace. People are realizing that there's more than one way of thinking about something. So your talk about the hidden area, where was that area that had that hidden area with all the information in it?
In regards to the Mayan codices?
Yes.
It was in the Yucatan. It was deep in the jungle. Still very, very remote today, even with the clearing of the trails, it was very beneficial. They actually found the location using the new LiDAR imaging. It's a laser radar, and they attached them to smaller planes, and they were just gridding the jungles, and they found a few target areas, and this being one of them. And my goodness, they really claim to have found a treasure trove of ancient texts, and they say it's most likely hidden. They were hidden on that purpose because this area was so remote and so difficult that even today it's not somewhere people would really venture to, and it's a very remote area, and it was all done in stone and with several different trap doors.
Yeah, that was a nice area that they had this stuff in. So whatever it is, it's hopefully it's made it through time, because they look like they really meant to save this stuff.
Yeah, and it fits the right area at that time. This is where in the 1530s that the culture was changing by force, and burning of books and codices were occurring. But this is also where I want to refer everyone to the Florentine Codex, because the Medici family had several scholars go over to the Americas during this time, and for several decades they traveled around to all the scholars and the village elders of different communities for decades and documented everything. And this was a book that the ruling Medici family from Florence specifically paid these scholars to go and accumulate this information, not to publish, for their own family library. So this book has a lot of great knowledge that hasn't really been public.
We have a slight family connection to the Medicis. My family's basically Italian. Really slight, 1/1000th of a cousin removed. But it was enough. My grandmother used to talk about them, and it was enough to keep me interested when they started talking about the Medici scandals. But they were very powerful in the church authority at that time, and it was an interesting story to chase. You know what was really interesting is what you were saying about the difficulty of the information when it's archived with assigned numbers, with nobody giving you the access sheet. They're certainly going to have the access sheet, I guarantee you, but they just won't want to cut it loose. You know, in order to explore these, you've got to spend a lifetime learning languages and then reading everything you can about everybody else's opinions of what happened so that you can make up your own mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree that we are going to be doing that probably for the rest of our existence on this planet?
It's what I've been doing for most of my existence.
Well, right on. Well, I'll tell you, it's incredibly rewarding to pay respect to what went before us.
I agree.
A lot more clear thinking going on before us.
Well, how about if I sign off, gang? I'd love to talk to you at length sometime. Join me in my show sometime.
Yeah, SJ, why don't you give a shout out real quick? What time can everyone catch your show? SJ's a fantastic individual. SJ, when can we hear you, man?
Well, this is Stream of Consciousness, and it's a call-in show so we can have long conversations that go wherever we want to take them. I wanted to have that kind of freedom available because people have said before, you know, there's a lot of times we want to talk about this, or you think people would like to hear about this, and I go, oh, hey, yes, absolutely. I'm having a little bit of problems with calling. Keep trying. Eventually we'll sit together. And mine is on Wednesday midnight, Stream of Consciousness.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, SJ.
Please feel free to call in. Thank you. I love it when people are making an effort to dig into the new and the intriguingly unusual.
We're trying. Thank you. You're a scholar and a gentleman.
And
thank you, sir.
As you are also.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
So I did post the link. Thank you, SJ. Thank you for calling in. I did post the link just now in the chat room. If you're not in the chat room, folks at home, get your butts to the chat room so you can see the links that we post. And it's in regards to one of the articles I was just referring to in the Yucatan with the Mayan codices that are approximately 1,100 years old, a lot of these, which is pretty astounding. And I hope we see a little bit of this starting to leak out now. I hope this was just the beginning of it. And we have a few other big things. I'm going to post the Bible containing the Gospel of St. Barnabas into the chat room as well. And that's a cool one to look at. If I'm not mistaken, I almost want to say the vellum the Turkish Bible was written on, I almost want to say that vellum was made from camel. It's very dark, but it's still a nice piece of work. It's obviously hand done, and the lettering it was written in it was in gold. It's all gold gilded. So
somebody said it looked as if they used the gold to cover up something that was on the pages or something. So this will be interesting to see how this shakes out when they finally get to it.
Yeah, me too. Vellum's usually pretty good for holding the ink, but this one, it's an old Bible. It's an old text. Let's be real. It's 1,500-year-old skin.
When you get into like the Coptic Bibles, like the ones that they have in Jerusalem, they literally, they have like every single book. Their canon, their Bible is like humongous. So.
They do. Well, I know Ethiopia has a couple really old ones too, with a few varying stories. But again, we know in the beginning, this is, let's just say this Bible falls around the year 400, which is very possible. There weren't a lot of complete Bibles, as you know. These were all still hand done, and it was a newer religion, and.
Wasn't that right around the time of the Council? What was it? The Council of Trent?
Well, it's the Council of Nicaea, but what you had
was... Thank you.
what you had was pretty much by 100 AD, the canon was pretty much, the New Testament was pretty much done. So they kind of got down to all this, all the squabbling and put it together.
We will see soon enough. It's always again, it's just another fine example of old historic texts and documents still coming to life. They still exist. There's a lot more to be found out there. I'm sure we really have only found a fraction of our ancient past, and usually artifacts this old, in terms of writing, it's very seldom we're finding intact books and text. So it's still nice to see it.
Yeah, you make a really good point for that time. That would be say 400. That would be an awfully nice book for that period.
Yeah, especially that area,
because everybody had scrolls. They weren't making codices. They were scrolls by and large. I mean, the Romans pretty much started the codices type stuff. So that's kind of out of place right there.
And this would fall in in a central location between the Eastern and Western Holy Roman Empire. So it's right in that time where a lot of things were coming to be. Constantine was just a few decades prior, and so there was still a lot of pressing going on who was supposed to do what, and we'll see. First, I'd like to know who the author of the book was, or authors who commissioned it is probably more relevant than the actual scribe themselves.
Well, not that I'm a big radiocarbon dating fan, but I would like to see what the radiocarbon dating tests come up at.
Yeah, me too. Which I would imagine they're going to have a really good chance on that, being it's made on animal skin. I'm trying to look. I really think I think I read something that they said it was camel, which is not common. It's usually not a large mammal. If it is, it's usually, if it's a mammal, it's like a goat or something like that. We will see. And I was going to try to get into the next discussion on the top of the hour. But in this area also, which I could touch quickly on, is was the discovery of a tomb in this region too. Well, it's in Hungary. Not far from Turkey, and this tomb is approximately the same age. We're going back to the 400s here, and this tomb is well kept, wrapped in gold, nice clothing, serious sword, and this tomb has been attributed to the burial of Attila the Hun, which is very possible. This is that area. This would have been where he was ruling and conquering, and it does match the descriptions of what his burial was like. However, it still varies. It's the story always was that he was wrapped in a lead coffin that was then wrapped in silver and then it was wrapped in gold, and that's not what was found here. But he himself was wrapped in a great deal of gold, and there was plenty of silver. The person was buried as if he was someone of high nobility. He was also buried with, Attila the Hun had a very famous sword. As we know in history, several people had very famous swords. They were of magical properties, if you will. And the one Attila the Hun had was one of those. It was made from meteoric iron. So this particular sword here was made from a meteor. So most likely it was made of a very high percentage of steel, which was why meteors were not only because they fell to Earth did the people think that they were godly and heavenly, but the iron was a very, very high percentage of steel, and it's a very difficult thing to create steel, especially then. So steel is very strong. a steel sword of this size, a 4-foot long steel sword, should have no problem chopping through an iron sword of similar size of that time. So if this is Attila and this is his sword, that would be amazing, because it was the holy war sword of the Scythians, given to him, apparently, as history says, by the god of Mars himself. And we'll come back to Attila and a whole bunch more at the top of the hour. Stay tuned. We'll be right back, folks. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Researchers Radio Live. My name is Joe Kiernan. We got Dave Stinnett, Tim C. here with us. We were just having some discussions on ancient texts, ancient knowledge recently discovered. It's always a constant recovery effort on these ancient texts. They're so crucial. We all know that there's an ancient knowledge, an ancient understanding lost or just misunderstood, lost in translation through many years, wars, languages, and greed. We cannot forget about greed. And hopefully a lot of these texts that are coming to light in the last few years and within this last decade, maybe collectively, we could really start finding something out, because my honest opinion is that a great deal of our human history has not just been lost, but has been kept from us for various reasons, whatever they may be. I feel that there is still a great deal of text still in existence, maybe in private libraries or stashed away in public ones, that there is still a great deal of knowledge that we will recover from these texts. And I think it'll just take a little bit of time. And I think that now that we're in this modern age of the internet, it's going to be very difficult for a lot of these hidden texts not to make it public. Where we have projects such as the Gutenberg.org, where they're literally trying to get every book that's ever been written that the copyright is up, and they're trying to scan and put a digital copy online. They're really trying to digitalize literally every book printed ever. That's their goal. And of course, the printing press was invented by Gutenberg, so the site is known as Gutenberg.
I'm down for it, Joe. I think digital libraries are a great thing.
Oh, I think it's fantastic. I do too. I really do. I think the internet as a technological tool for library access, things like that, is huge.
Well, you can back that up to around the world. So if the actual collection or something like that that's on there gets wiped out, the knowledge that it did once at least exists in digital form now.
No
but
fire
that may be on a ton of different servers, and you can't, unless the whole Earth gets waffled in one shot, that information will be out there somewhere. So that's very cool.
No doubt about that.
I agree with you. I do. And I think with the large collections of books being digitalized and being accessible are tremendous for modern day researching. Just 10 years ago, if you were very interested in a topic and you had a burning desire, you felt that if you hit the books, you might be able to come up with a pretty cool discovery, and you'd like to share that. That task was monumental. You would need to spend so much time at libraries, never mind locating the books using the well-loved Dewey Decimal System, but you would really have to physically have many books in your hand at a library, and that's if they're all in the same location.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got to find a good library.
Yeah, I mean, more often than not, it's someone else has that book, or it's in a different library, but they could have it shipped to that library. But it wasn't accessible like it is now. I mean, I could go through 10 different books in 10 minutes, and everywhere I see a page I need, I could just hit print, and as they come out, just highlight what I need. And the speed I can go through books is outrageous. And I can't lie. I cheat a little bit too. I just don't have the time to read as much as I'd like. So I convert like half the books I want to read into audiobooks, and that's what I'll listen to while I'm driving or
Joe, I do the same exact thing.
Do you really? Yeah. I can't help it, but I'll tell you, man, I love it. I really do love it because I find myself listening to the same book a few times, and even though I might not have full attention on it, I think I'm really getting it pretty good. I can't
do yard work.
Guys, I'd much rather be able to afford someone to read books for me and follow me around, but it's not that easy. There's this money factor, but it's a really cool thing, man. I'm a big fan of technology for the internet and digitalization of books for this purpose. It's a love and hate that I have with the internet, but on this topic, I love it a lot because libraries are very boring, and I used to have such difficult times getting the books I needed. It was, usually it's that book's lost, or we could get a book for you. This book's out. And you only have a length of time you need them, and you're not allowed to write in their books.
You know what, though? I'll always continue to buy books. I just like having a physical book and keeping my book. And the truth is, you come across books that you wouldn't normally have found at libraries and bookstores. You know what I'm saying? I mean, sure, you can just do a search and find whatever you want on the internet and move to 60 different topics and tangents, but there's something to be said about a tangible book in my hand.
Yeah,
I agree, man. I do. Go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
I like the tactile sense of having a book, and stuff like I have all Donald Kehoe's, most of his first edition UFO books that he put out.
Awesome.
And I think they're very telling, but you can't get them in any other form, and I don't think they've been digitized. So those are things that were happening that were written at the time that part of the phenomena was like really popping, and there was a lot going on in it. So, those are in the library, but once those books are gone, that information is gone with it. So.
Mm-hmm. I have a few books myself that I have just for collector value. I have a few first editions, nothing to really brag about. What do I have? Grapes of Wrath. I know I have for first edition, and I got a few. To Kill a Mockingbird and a Farewell to Arms by Hemingway. I've got a few, but I think the treasures of my books are not the first editions. I just got a few old text, 19th century texts that just really aren't in print anymore, and if they are, it's a paperback, and it just doesn't have that nostalgia, leather binding, smelling like a basement, Yeah. A nice old book has to smell terrible.
Well, the funny thing is, it may be the only book that gives you information that you can't find anymore.
That's really what it is. And you know what? You hit it right on the head again, because a few of these books just are not online. They're just not digitally scanned yet or available. Probably just because they're not popular is what it boils down to is. And a lot of those older books really are fantastic books, the ones that were written. Like I'm a big fan, as Tim, of the William Blake books from the late 1700s, because it was such a sketchy time and it was so controversial for him to write these that the man actually engraved every plate himself of the steel plates and pressed them in paper. But he not only wrote them, he engraved them all, he illustrated them all, he printed the book himself, and his wife sold them. And it is, a lot of those books and he did a remarkable job, whether you like the context of it or not. They're beautiful books, and I don't have any of those originals. I wish I did, but I may never own one of those. They're just so expensive. But I do have a few of the, one of them, America the Prophecy. They printed that book, a proper facsimile from borrowed private copies, in the 70s, and I do have one of those printings, which is very rare to get. It's a pretty cool book. I'm very proud to have it. But I like a lot of my old books. And
the cool thing about that too, Joe, is some of those old books were like little treasures in their time because they weren't really out there, but they stuck around and people really relied on those books. They're like, this is a good book, this is pertinent to this or whatever. And fortunately, some of the publishing houses have picked up those old books and started new runs on them. So we're getting, I'm sure those are digitized because they're done in our time, but the reality of it is we could still buy the book, and once upon a time the book was rare. So technology is working for us in that case.
Yeah. I have, as you guys might have saw, I put on Facebook, maybe it was about a month and a half ago, where I won at an auction a 18th century Galileo book.
Oh, yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, and that's currently the pride and joy of what I have. And it's good because it does smell a little bit, guys. It's a stinky book. No, but it's being the science geek I am, and being who it is, just Galileo and the historical nostalgia behind it, and just knowing at even when that book itself was made, there was really not a whole lot of people keen enough to understand the contents of the book, never mind to read it. So it's just, you look at it and say, there was an understanding mind 200 plus years ago that sought out this book in hopes of satisfying a burning question of something. Galileo's books weren't read for their nice stories.
My mother used to complain to me when I was in my late teens and I started to buy and collect books. And she would say, hey, you got to be careful because you buy a book from a bookstore or wherever and you don't know what it's got in it. It could be 50 years old and it's got fungus on it. It can bring cockroaches into the house, this and that.
Yeah.
And I didn't listen. But then again, I've never seen any fungi in my book collection. So
I think what you need to be aware of is that all those books go through a register and all that stuff gets pinged onto your credit card or whatever. But there's a central database somewheres and it knows exactly the type of books you're reading. So if you're reading books that the state doesn't think you should be reading, you may very well get a knock at the door.
It's very true. I remember first trying to purchase the Kabbalion. Tim might even remember in 20 years ago. If you could find, this 20 years ago, without the internet, locating a book like that for sale, when I did, it was a book then that required identification, and it was the first time I had come across that. It was like, I have to give ID to buy this book.
Back then,
what list am I going on here?
I remember after you got that book, I made several trips to many different places around the tri-state area trying to find it. And I don't know why I had so much trouble finding it. Eventually, I did.
I'll give Tim some credit, Dave. Tim went out on a mission one day, and he found a little old bookstore in New York, and he turned up a 19th century copy of the Corpus Hermeticum, which is probably impossible to find today, and I think he's lost it since. I think it's been misplaced because I was trying to borrow it from him.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to that book, but I've moved so many times.
Every now and then I come across a really old book, and I just put it up, but I have no idea where they've gotten to. I'm hoping it's in the big library, but
Well, I'm hoping, I'll stay on this for a minute. Like the Kabbalion, this is a Hermetic text. There's still a few more Hermetic texts that are not published in the last couple hundred years. Like we think there's the Kabbalion, Corpus Hermeticum, the Emerald Tablets, and Manly P. Hall did a few in association. But there was actually a solid 3 more that still exist. They're just in private hands, really, and I'm hoping to grab them and put them into English. It would be my ideal thing to do. But honestly, I want to do it so I could read them. This is really what I want to do.
Are you referring to books, writings attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, or are you talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, attributed to Hermes Trismegistus himself, that apparently they were all being translated by Marsilio Ficino in 1490s.
Keep me up on that. I'd like to hear.
Yeah, actually, Ficino, he's not like, he's someone. He's pretty important. It's not like he was just someone who had these texts. He was hired to translate these texts because he's a very, very scholarly guy. But all the Plato works that we know of today were brought into today's times by him. So he's the one who translated them from the ancient Greek language into Latin of the Renaissance, and until today. But he was what it was again back to the Medicis. Lorenzo de' Medici was having these books, Plato's books, translated for himself. And the story goes he was reading day and night. He was staying up all night long reading Plato's books, and he wanted more and more. And then Lorenzo de' Medici came across an old copy of the Corpus Hermeticum, and he told Ficino, "Stop everything you're doing and translate this book for me right now." And so Ficino even has it's in Latin, of course, but he even writes a nice little prologue in the book, a little entry for Lorenzo de' Medici, saying, the most magnificent, how much you love Plato, and, you love Plato so much, you made me stop everything to do this, and you're very humble and proud. And
didn't want to lose my head.
Right. But Lorenzo de' Medici started a really good library. Actually, it was his dad. But in Lorenzo's time is when the library really came to be, and it was Michelangelo had a big part in it. He designed.
Where is it now, Jeff?
It's still in Florence.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's still in Florence. The library itself, like the contents of the books, have been a few volumes have left over the years, but pretty much for about 300 years, from about 1500 to 1800. No book left that library. As a matter of fact, it just those books were pretty much just in hiding for several hundred years. They really didn't come out. But right now, you can still see a lot of them. They still put a lot of them on display. Not all of them based on whatever topic is priority in the museum, but it is attached with the Uffizi Gallery in Florence as well, which is the Medici's museum.
That place is huge.
Yeah, and they started that in that time as well. I think Lorenzo's son Cosimo is the one who started that one, if I'm not mistaken. Like 1550, I think, is when the Uffizi came about. Where Vasari was involved in there, so it was somewhere around there. But that library was supposed to be top notch. The Medici inherited a great deal of works from King Matthias's library in Hungary, which at that time, King Matthias's library was second only to the Vatican's. And actually, the Vatican has a great deal of books from King Matthias's library, too.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm waiting for those to get scanned. I know which ones those are, and it'll probably be the last one scanned.
So what,
40 years from now.
As soon as he died, the Vatican, backed up a wagon to his place, and
you know what, Dave? That's pretty much what happened, and it wasn't just him. It was here's my personal opinion: is Lorenzo de' Medici even just got a great deal of them, and cleverly, what he said was, now because he has a lot of these books that he can't deny, because King Matthias had every one of the books in his library custom made by people working for him. So every page is embroidered and has his crest on there, and they're all illuminated. But Lorenzo de' Medici cleverly had hundreds of volumes of these precious texts, and he was just saying, I just want to make my library an exact image of his. He wanted to duplicate it and have it just look like it. But it's really the same books that we're finding out today. And Medici's got a great deal of Matthias's books too. There's still a lot of them. Windsor, the Royal Windsor Library has a great deal of them, and there's out of the 2,500 texts that were in his library, and that's not a guess. There's a list, an inventory that was done annually, and out of those 2,500 texts, there's about 400 known today, or 400 that are claimed to be part of it. I'm sure a great deal are still in private hands.
Yeah.
There's one Bible, the King Matthias's personal Bible, would probably be something I'd want to see. It's done in 3 volumes. The first 2 volumes, I'm sure you could find a great deal of images from them. It is a Bible, yes, but it's more of a Bible and a family story at the same time.
And people also need to know, Joe, that especially languages, within these type of texts, 16th century English isn't what it is today, and sometimes you can struggle through those texts, and those are written in English. So I imagine translating these properly are a pretty tough job.
I'm sure it's monumental to get into something like that. With the text that came out of Matthias's King Matthias's library, the Bible, the Corvinian Bible, is Corvinian was the last name he took, the Raven King. Volume 1 and 2, I could probably find you almost every page you want to find. However, volume 3 of the 3 parts is something most scholars that know about the text have been waiting centuries, and we're probably not going to get that. There are a few images of a few of the pages, that show wonderful artwork. Volume 1 and 2 are amazing, but volume 3 is a class all on its own in artistic value. That volume 3, the few images that are public these days from the Corvinian Bible are outrageous. My personal opinion, and it's a lot of people, not just myself, it's tough to prove. However, I really strongly do believe that Albrecht Dürer was one of the artists on number 3. I think he was also doing the other ones as well, but and I only say I think because not many people will agree with me that Albrecht Dürer did that, because he was not supposed to be there at that time in history. However, I can show anyone who's interested that he actually painted himself in the Bible, and he painted his own name on himself in the Bible. So I'm ready for that argument if there's any scholars ready. It's one thing to paint yourself, it's another to paint yourself and put your name on yourself. I think it's him. We'll find out.
And that's something pretty common for, well, I'm not saying that whole story, but painting yourself and in placing it into different works here and there secretly. It was pretty common around that time, especially amongst his contemporaries. Yeah,
I do agree with you, Tim. Even like Raphael was a big one, which was a buddy of his. Mm-hmm. They all, if you want to find out who the painter is, if you're looking at it from the early 1500s or so, just find the one person in the painting that's staring back at you. It's usually the person. He might be hiding somewhere, but that's the person, because at that time you weren't allowed to paint like that. Right. You weren't allowed to have someone making eye contact back with the patron, and you weren't allowed to have an image, a person full frontal, nude or not nude. Both shoulders straight on facing you. That pose was reserved for Christ.
And that is something that Dürer definitely took into his own hands, no doubt.
Well, yes, I would say he pushed the envelope on that one. He definitely painted himself full front in full elegance. A true Renaissance man, if you will. But before I go too far with the Corvinian Bible, there, man, I'll tell you guys, it's really fantastic. But the the whole volume 3 it's within the Habsburg dynasty. So,
oh really?
Yeah. So the Habsburg dynasty has volume 3,
a lot of stuff,
and it has for a number of centuries. And I could tell you with certainty that number 3 volume is in England at the Rothschild estate. It's known to be. They claim to have it. They also claim hereditary rights to it. I don't know how that goes, but
the Habsburgs possessed the Spear of Destiny, and that was the first thing Hitler rolled in. He went right to their museum and snatched it.
You're absolutely right. I'm glad you mentioned that, because
they're influential people.
It was Emperor Sigismund in the 1300s took the Spear of Destiny and the rest of the Holy Roman regalia, the scepters, the golden sphere. I don't know if you guys seen it. They have a golden orb. It's a little gold orb with a cross on the top of it, and of course the crown, and there's gloves, there's elaborate jewels and crowns and coats. However, Sigismund was the one that took them to Nuremberg, Germany, and said, for the rest of days of mankind, these are to stay here. And every year, once a year, every Holy Roman Emperor had to return to them to kind of have an annual ceremony, if you will. And when World War II broke out, they took those to the Habsburgs, and they took them to Vienna, the Habsburg castle in Vienna, and they asked the Habsburgs, can you hang on to these? Of course, yes, I'll be more than happy to hang on to them for you. Can you hang on to them? And say, sure. And then Hitler came through and he took them, and with the help of Eisenhower and a few others, these were things that were taken back from Hitler, and which is odd is they did not go back to Nuremberg. They went back to Habsburg Castle in Vienna, and they're still there today. And like I said, it was set forth in the years of 14th century that this was their final home, and they're to stay here forever. Before then, they moved around a little bit, but this was made permanent home. And it's really strange that they were only moved for safekeeping for World War II. So it was very strange that they were returned to the Habsburgs in Vienna, and that Holy Roman regalia of these jewels and treasures are still in that castle today in Vienna, and they're. Well, whether people believe that they're the actual ones or not, I'm sure a lot of
there's a bit of controversy on that end, that's for sure. Yeah,
there is, especially with the spear itself. I could understand them, just like with the Constitution. It's not maybe you don't even have the actual ones on display, or maybe not all of the time. But with the Spear of Destiny, there was a lot of controversy with that thing before it even made it there.
It's funny. I was watching one of these, documentaries, but it was Chuck Missler. Chuck's a missile defense guy. I mean, he's a physicist and all kinds of other stuff, but he's also a Bible scholar. But he was saying that he was having a conversation with Baron von Habsburg, and Habsburg had said that the ignorance of the American people is astounding, and Chuck was saying that he understood that statement because when he was in London, the people in London knew more about what was going on in California elections than the Californians did. But then he says, and the concentration of power in the United States is frightening. And Chuck didn't know what he meant. He was just like, what do you mean? We have no democracy, this, that, and the other. But, after a number of years, Chuck saw what he was talking about. But it was funny that Habsburg was giving him this warning, like, hey, the powers in the United States are centralizing. You guys should get some heads up here.
Well,
it's interesting.
I'm not shocked about that at all, and it's interesting how we came full circle to lead me to talking about Vienna, because I actually had some friends here, family friends from Vienna, and they are en route returning home to Vienna right now.
Very nice.
Yeah. So coincidentally, I did have some Viennese people here. Fantastic. Yeah. I do hold some blood from Vienna too. A small portion of my genealogy comes through there.
You have a good time?
Yeah, good times. Yeah, we had a good time. It's different, man. It's, as you guys know, when I used to be a tour guide, let's say, or people out of town or out of country, I was very proud and had many options to show them around. Being from New York, if people are coming to town, it's here. It's what do I do with them? You know,
there's the ocean.
Right. You know, you're gonna get really sunburnt if you're from Vienna, and now you're on the beach here.
Are those moms or dad's relatives?
What's that, Tim?
What side of the family did that come from?
That is from my father's side. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. My father's mother's side. Yeah. And then it goes way back, and then goes back. My gene pool there goes in the Vienna to like around like 1420-ish, around there, and then it starts heading east, and I think I might have mentioned on the show before, we have it back to in the year 800s on the island of Cyprus, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I would have never guessed something like that, but pretty cool. Yeah, you know, I'm sure if we all trace ourselves back a good number of years, it's probably incredible where we all come from. I tell people, majority I'm an Irish American, but I also understand, you know, 500 years ago, it's my lineage might not have even really been there yet. You know,
right.
Who knows? I sure don't, not yet. But with King Matthias, if you guys don't mind me returning to him real quick, I'll tell you another point that always caught me strange was when he came to be. Not only is this is kind of going full circle, because King Matthias, when he's the dude who took control of Hungary after the fall of Constantinople, well, he was elected as king even though he was a child, because it was supposed to be the direct descendant of Attila the Hun, which coincidentally we already spoke of today, and where Attila the Hun was found would have been on King Matthias's property. And King Matthias also took Vienna in 1485, and until he died, he ruled all of Vienna and the area of Austria. And that Habsburg castle where the whole Holy Roman Regalia sits, that was King Matthias's son's castle, Johann. So he gave that castle to that was, you know, his son. So he ruled that area. So it's quite interesting because Hungary, the country of Hungary themselves, they have their own crown jewels that are pretty similar to the Holy Roman Regalia. They're very, very old. They were known. Even Charlemagne had half of those. Now we're going back to the year 800, and those jewels were so coveted that when World War II hit, the Holy Roman Regalia's jewels went to Habsburg, but the crown jewels of Hungary went to Fort Knox in Tennessee. They wanted to make sure them suckers were safe. I don't know the political moves that enabled that to occur, but I could assure you, it is known and public info that Fort Knox did house the crown jewels of Hungary, which is pretty impressive. But again, as we talked about, guys, that is Queen Elizabeth, Prince Charles's hereditary. You know, that's where they come from. That's their lineage, and we're only going to see more of it. And I'm going to think we're going to see a lot of it because I'm hearing just this week that England is becoming a little bit more involved with that area as a nation. because of the heightened activity with Russia. And, if this was the line of defense, if you will, for the Cold War with, Romania, Hungary, Poland. This would be right in the middle of that area. So I wouldn't be shocked to see England more involved there. But as we've spoke about before, Prince Charles over the last decade has been making some great donations to the area, not just financially, but education, and he's also been buying himself a few castles at cutthroat rates. He picked up a wonderful 16th century 20,000 square foot castle for about $15,000, which is remarkable.
Really?
Yeah,
$15,000.
Guys, in all fairness, it needed a little.
We should
work.
all pitched in and got it, guys. Come on.
It needed a little work, guys.
Just a little.
Yeah, it needed new walls and roof. Yeah, I think it needed a new roof. I'm sure, but the structure itself looked great. It was all stone, and it was remarkable. It's that sketchy area of Transylvania. It's infamous for its legends.
Bad neighborhood.
It's a rough part of town, they say. But it's that place is, besides Dracula, the forests through that region right there are just legendary for being haunted or supernatural. Just even from those days, so it's just a creepy place. I don't know if it was just because it was dark and misty, or whatever, or might have been the Dracula tales. That might have done it for me. I don't know if I'd really venture through those woods so much today, too. I've seen a few shows about that area, and it's ancient. That area is ancient, is what it boils down to. Is I mean, Attila was through there. That was 1,600 years ago, and it was ancient then. I mean, that whole area north of Greece, that's Macedonia. That's
You'd think it'd be haunted,
That's it.
A lot of death going on back there.
Oh man, that area has that whole region has gotten it pretty bad for thousands of years, man.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
It's been it's central between just even if you want to say Europe and Asia, if you will, any advancing nations, tribes, or beliefs that were making their way towards the Roman Empire had to come through Turkey, and then that's what you're hitting. You're hitting the area of Hungary right there. So that was a big defense.
How do you pronounce that for? Is that the Hawaii Bikes? I can't pronounce it. I just can't.
I think that was incorrect.
It's like HOIABACIU, something like that. It's a really.
I'm not too sure.
Difficult.
It's not Welsh.
I don't know. Romania, from what I understand, is really a mix of cultures that surround that area. Hey, I could be wrong. I'm talking about from something I was told by.
Well, a lot of those areas are Romania now, but
the Austro-Hungarian Empire. I mean, it was a big deal. Yeah,
absolutely. That was that whole region. I don't think the name Romania was. I think that's a 1600s name, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was like Swabia was the name of that area. But this was all a part of Hungary. Hungary at that time, Transylvania was part of it. But that whole region has got some good history, and it's been a long battle. Attila himself. I mean, it's a strange situation how that came to be, because he's supposed to be of Central Asian descent, and to be from Central Asia and to control all of Northern Europe at that time, what we would know as Germania, he had the whole area, and he was a force to be reckoned with, man. I know he was getting paid like. I really want to say it was about 700 pounds of gold annually by the Eastern Roman Empire, just not to attack. And Yeah, I think he was working both sides of the fence. I'm sure. I'm sure he was.
It's incredible when you hear these old stories about these immense amounts of gold, these crazy weights of gold that were given to explorers and kings and rulers. And then you think about it and you say, well, where the hell is all that gold now? The amount of gold that was, I read somewhere that the amount of gold that has been mined from the earth could fill a few Olympic swimming pools.
I think it's less. I just read that an estimate was a 30-foot cube, 30 by 30 by 30.
That's even smaller.
Which is still a good amount.
I understand gold is very heavy, but 700 pounds of gold.
That's a lot of gold.
It's a lot of gold.
That's a lot of gold. That's a lot. That's a lot. What is that? That's a lot. That's 1,200 ounces?
That's a lot of nations.
12,000 ounces? My God, man. That is incredible. But Attila, you think of it, there's so many stories. It is so long ago, I understand. For a guy who was making so much money and so much gold just from one source, right? Let's just say all he had coming was 700 pounds of gold annually. This was a man who history tells us, he treated his guests well, where if he had a dinner party, everyone drank from gold goblets or silver goblets, but he would not. He would like a wood cup, or he kept himself clean with nice clothing, but he wasn't lavish by any means. Is I think what I'm trying to say. He was very modest for someone who had the money, which was very rare, as you guys know, at that time or today. If you got the money, I'm sorry, what's that, Dave?
How exactly did he die? Because I don't remember being from a good way.
There are a few stories that go, but the one historic, the one that a history teacher would teach in school would be that he did have several wives, and when he was marrying his third wife, I believe her name was Ildiko, and he died that night. So maybe he was poisoned, maybe he was murdered, but the story goes he died that night, and that's about it. So we're hoping if this grave that was found was in fact Attila's, maybe we could find out a little more of that. But it's remarkable how many people in Europe have his DNA, they say, which I would really like to see, but it's
well,
very
I also
possible.
saw that they said in Crimea there was supposed to be one of the biggest ancient pyramids built or found, and all of a sudden everybody starts moving in on it. Again, I don't know how valid the story, but I know the story was out there.
That wouldn't surprise me, not in the least bit. And that's very interesting, and I'm going to look into that myself. But that's and stranger things have happened.
Yeah,
no doubt about it.
But it's not just Attila that a lot of people claim a great portion of European DNA comes from, but just this year there was a study that came out that said upwards of 70% of European men are related to King Tut, which people argue, and rightfully so. I understand they are two different continents, but we also know these Egyptian societies did not stay in Egypt much longer after the time of Jesus, really. The mystery schools of ancient Egypt moved to Alexandria, and Alexandria really fell apart around 70 BC.
Yeah, and people got to realize there were a lot of people, still in Babylon.
Sorry, AD.
Up into a certain amount of time. So once those empires started falling, those people were migrating out, and probably there were pretty good numbers, and you could see where they would, find new areas.
Yeah, well, we know that everything switched around then, and I think it's quite possible that is a huge amount of DNA. But again, if we go back 25, to King Tut's time, we're going back over 3,000 years. There really wasn't a whole lot of people then compared to now. And if he did have children, which is possible, or if his relatives' DNA lasted, it's very probable, because these were this was the elite family, so these were the bloodlines that would have lasted over time.
And I don't think they were relegated to one wife. So.
No, I think you're right. I mean, I know King. I know King Tut's young, but the report did not say that 70% of European men are direct descendants of King Tut, which a lot of people they took that angle when they argue those findings. Being related to him could mean King Tut has the same gene of DNA. It could have been 3,000 years old when he had it. It doesn't necessarily mean he had children and down the line it went. That would be incredible, but it would be ruling families like that would have lasted. I mean, I would imagine the DNA King Tut had was amongst quite a few people of the time, and then thereafter. I could be wrong, though, because his parents, that was a controversial period in the rulers, too. So.
Yeah, it was. Akhenaten was his father.
Yeah. So I might want to recant all my words, saying his DNA might have been 3,000 years old when he already had it. I forgot about who his parents were for a moment. That really might change things. But having King Tut's DNA that's really no big shocker. That really wasn't a big shocker to me. The fact that it was 50 or 70%, it was. But again, it could be that 50, 60% share such a small fraction. There could have been one genetic flaw that he had, a genetic marker that continued down, which is usually how we go about the classifications of it.
And it's funny. All these stories have come out, as of recent, as you said, Joe. And then, you hear about there was some schoolgirl that made a connection between all the presidents. I think me and you were talking about it a week or so ago, Joe.
Yeah, right.
Those types of stories, I don't know why, they don't really compel me, because I feel like over thousands of years, it just, the DNA just spreads, man. And we're all related somewhere along the line, one way or another, back to an ape. So, I don't know. These ideas just don't really. They never did catch me for whatever reason.
They do say during certain epochs, a lot of humans got wiped out, so things kind of got bottlenecked. So,
right,
very possible we're continuously coming from a small stockpile.
Yep.
I think I'm seeing in the chat. I think I missed a conversation in regards to when we were speaking about gold. Patrick English, our friend, Patrick, if you're out there. I hope I'm not misunderstanding, but in regards to the 30 by 30 cube of gold, that statement was released by, I'm looking for it here. It was either Yale or Princeton that did an economical study, and they were comparing the 30-foot cube to the first 30 feet of Washington Monument. So I'm just going by what they said. They said you could fill up the Washington Monument for about 30 feet. Or they said if you take approximately a 30-foot cube. I still feel it should have been a lot more. Like Tim was saying, when we hear historically, in this case where from the Eastern Roman Empire, Attila is getting 700 pounds of gold a year. So let's just say 10 years. That's 3.5 tons of gold. That is incredible. And then we hear when the Inca civilization was wiped out, when they come back and they say, we told them to fill this room with gold up to, they drew a line on a wall, let's say 8 feet off the ground. They say, fill this room with gold, and we'll save your village. And those were the stories how they were collecting gold on the first return of gold to Europe. And they were just bringing back tons of gold.
Yeah, I don't buy the whole even the statement I made about the two Olympic-sized swimming pools, I truly feel that there's a hell of a lot more, and someone else is out there trying to tell us that there's not. Pretty much.
I had read an article recently, and it was saying that people, certain economic sector was looking at, because this year China does its gold count, and they're watching to see what the increase in the gold count for China was this year, because some of them suspected that they were moving a large chunk of our gold out of Fort Knox in exchange for something, or to stave off something maybe, but to China. So they wanted to see what the increase in China's gold numbers were from the last time they had it. So I'm not sure where that comes into play, but it's an interesting little tidbit.
Sure.
That is a good little tidbit there. Well, we are coming up near the end of the show, guys. I wanted to let everyone know next week we have Linda Zimmerman coming on. If everyone likes to, I would refer everyone to please stay in Studio B. I will be producing the show following tonight, Alchemical Connections with Chrissy McMahon, and continue to stay in with us if you don't mind. She does an excellent job, and it's usually topics I like, but you don't have to stay in Studio B. There's a Studio A, everyone. But I do recommend you continue with Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. Guys, as you know, I forgot to mention our wonderful seed pack that we like to discuss. So everyone, what I would like to tell you to do is remind everyone that we are listener supported here at freedomslips.com, and the donations that you make to the station, it does allow us to continue to broadcast on this platform and higher platforms and reach more listeners and get these messages out. There's a lot of other programming here on the stations that you could find many different topics, political shows. As you know, there's research shows, paranormal shows. We're very much inept with a lot of current events, such as the events taking place by the BLM in Nevada pertaining with Mr. Bundy. And we didn't get a chance to speak on that tonight. But the station, guys, I don't know if I've told you, Hawk at the station has been getting himself very involved, or helping the station get very involved. Mm-hmm. And right now, Hawk is selling some personal items. I don't know if it's still going on. I'd like to. I would really hope he sold all of them by now, in the sense for donations. But he has an extensive collection of knives, and if you make donations for some knives, you send them $50. Send you a knife worth $50, and that $50 is going directly to everyone out there at the Bundy Ranch for gas cards, debit cards, food, things like that. The station does have a contact out there that we are speaking to daily, and we're able to get these resources to them. And this isn't something where you donate $50 and maybe $5 will get there. This is something where this is a situation taking place right now, and the station feels strongly in helping out. And this is why we do have alternative radio. For these are messages you wouldn't know about tuning into mainstream media or your local news. These are real events that are happening that your local news and mainstream media are too nervous to broadcast to you.
Too scared.
So that's the darn truth. They're too scared, and because it's the hardcore truth, and that's
there was even a couple on YouTube. If you just search for Revolution Radio, I saw a few videos on there of actual footage of the area. Just a couple little videos showing what was happening over there at the BLM. The situation over there in Nevada. I thought that was interesting, and you're right, Joe. Other shows are promoting this too on Revolution Radio. I was listening to Strange Universe the other day, and they were doing it as well. and it's good.
Yeah, great show, man.
Get involved.
Well, guys,
somebody's got to help them.
We're turning here. Dave, was there anything you wanted to get in? Did you? I thought. I forgive me if it slipped my mind. I thought you had mentioned something before the show.
Oh, we were talking about the chemtrails, and I was saying that at the last conference and last few conferences, the comment cards have been people starting to inquire about that. So I was looking into a guy from New Jersey. He's a filmmaker, but he actually worked alongside some of the people who produced What in the World Are They Spraying? And they actually have government scientists pretty much fessing up to it at this point in the game. So evidently there's something to the geoengineering chemtrail thing. So maybe we could talk on that on a later show.
I hope so, because just this very week I heard that a lawsuit was brought up by the people of Sweden against its governing agencies officially on chemtrails. Yeah. And,
we were
see there.
We were talking about this before the show, and we had mentioned that most of the, as you said, mainstream media really doesn't hit on a lot of these topics, but that is one topic that you never hear. And you'll hear about UFOs on the mainstream media. You'll hear about ghosts and whatnot, other paranormal, but you never hear anything about this type of thing that's just been strictly...
Did I lose you, Tim?
Conspiracy theory, really.
Oh, I lost you for a quick second there. But,
yeah, it's funny because this guy his name's George Barnes, and his new movie is called Look Up. But
we got to cut you out there. Sorry, everyone. Tune in next week. Thank you for staying tuned with us this week. We are very appreciative here at Researchers Radio Live. From Dave Stinnett, Tim C., myself, Joe K. We'll see you next week, Sunday night, 10 p.m., Studio B. Thank you all very much. Have a good night.
Night off.
Listening to Revolution Radio.
Enter into a world unseen on Raven Star's Witching Hour. You will encounter eclectic topics from the realm of spirit brought into our matrix of truth. With your host, the Solaris Blue Raven. Solaris will bring you an array of unique guests covering topics from ghostly spirits to amazing anomalies, covert technology, UFOs, and shadowy global events.
And that's right here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, Saturdays midnight till 2 a.m. Eastern Time. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Let the magic rise.
Hi, this is Bo.
And this is Rocco.
And the Bo and Rocco Show is here to offer insight into legal and lawful remedies. Our goal is to remain free and help others remain free in an ever-increasing police-like state. With the help of our guests, we try to answer questions such as what went wrong and what can we do about it.
So tune into Revolution Radio at www.freedomslips.com Wednesday nights, 10 to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to listen to the Bo and Rocco Show.
You don't need to expect us.
We're already here.
Revolution Radio.
Every Tuesday evening on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, we present our goddess spiritual warrior, Kathy Bilski.
I command. I call to the architect of the universe's divine creators and ask for permission to quantum leap the world in all life forms on all planes and dimensions.
Need some more speed records in this day and age. You need coverage.
Coverage? Oh, you mean them little root weevils that crawl around popping off cameras in your face?
Those root weevils write history.
many of you know that quote by Jack Nicholson and A Few Good Men? You can't handle the truth. Well, you can, and Event Horizons will give you those truths. So when you're mad as hell and not going to take it anymore from that memorable senior network, you'll know just what to do. We will draw you in and become your news addiction at Event Horizons. Join us Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to noon Eastern Time at freedomslips.com at Revolution Radio. Our world team members are Dennis Fetcho, John Ilias, David Dunger, Halakas MD, Melanie Bridgeton, Jim Mars, Paula Harris, John Trallo, Maria Payan, Christopher Husser, DODDS, Jonathan Orchard, and me, your anchor, Dr. Robin Falco.
If you decide not to volunteer, it will not be held against you in any way.
Sounds dangerous.
It is. Very dangerous.
Count me in.
And that's right here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps.
Enjoy your
extra big-ass fries.
You didn't give me no fries. I got an empty box.
Would you like another?
Extra big-ass fries.
I said I didn't get any.
Thank you. Your account has been charged. Your balance is 0. Please come back when you can afford to make a purchase.
No.
I'm sorry you're having
Come
trouble.
on. My kids are starving.
Thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio. Here at Revolution Radio, we believe in freedom of ideas, freedom of speech, but above all, we believe in freedom of existence through self-reliance. This station is 100% listener-supported, and as a fundraising promotion, I have a kick-ass free gift for a $100 donation. 35,000 seeds. 25 years in the freezer. Long-term storable, 54 different varieties. So if food prices go crazy, the shit hits the fan, or if you just want to save tons of money every year by creating your own food like I do, grab our seed pack special. Just look for the banner on the homepage at freedomslips.com. Don't be a statistic. Don't be part of the problem. Be part of the solution. We need, as humans, to start taking care of ourselves and not depending on the megacorps to provide unhealthy, nasty food. Included in this package is also a DVD with 900 survival and off-grid living documents and the offline home canning how to do everything website all on the DVD. So when you're growing all that food, you know how to can it, store it, preserve it, etc. with all these documents. So thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I hope that you will pick up this package and start learning to be free. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps and freedom is one seed that needs to be planted.
What we do in life, it goes in eternity.
Hello, everyone. Hello. My name is Joe Kiernan. Welcome to Researchers Radio Live. We're hosted by myself and Dave Stinnett. We have an interesting program tonight. We do have a guest joining us on the program soon enough by the name of Mr. Joseph Atwill, the author of Caesar's Messiah. And without further ado, I'd like to bring my main man, Dave Stinnett, and introduce him to everyone for the night. Dave, how are you, my man?
Joe. Yep.
Yep.
Another good Sunday. Another good topic.
It was a beautiful day today. How about for you, man? How's Jersey?
Oh, it was howling wind down here. I actually had a new metal roof put on my mountain house this weekend, so that was nice.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So you went up to you got out of town again for the weekend?
No, I was out last weekend, got it all set up. This weekend I got kind of hung up, but the work was already done, so.
Right on.
Next weekend I'll go up and start working on the place, but probably just as well because I mean it was like typhoon down here today for some reason.
Wow, we had some good wind. I guess yesterday, the day before. I guess it was heading your way, but today was gorgeous here.
I was to say the pollen was so thick it was like sheets of it just blowing around out here. So people, whoever had allergies were probably suffering pretty bad today.
Mm-hmm. I'm one of them. I'm having a hard one today. It's a rough one. But I tell you, it might have been 90 here today. It was just blazing hot.
Really?
Oh man, definitely high 80s. Definitely high 80s. Yesterday,
I hate you, guys.
so, you'll get it soon enough, and you'll get it with a lot of humidity too.
Actually, I like it the way it is. You
Hi,
can
Tim.
keep the 90s. Hi, how you doing?
Sorry about that, everyone. Tim C's here. Tim C.
I'm here.
Hey,
I'm here.
Tim.
What's up, buddy?
I was gonna say I'll deal with the 75-degree weather that we have up here with the nice breeze. I'll keep that all year round. I don't need that 90-degree crap with all the humidity you guys get down there.
Well, you're pretty close to the. You're basically at the foothills of the Catskills now, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah. There was a number of years ago. I was building a house for a guy not far from you, maybe on the other side of Ellenville in the Catskill Mountains, but he was way on the top, and it was summertime, and it was really hot, but a bad storm was coming in, and it got so cold, and it might have been, let's say, 85 degrees, and then it dropped to maybe 50, but the wuss I said, it's so cold, it feels like it's going to snow. And the guy says, up here on this mountain, there's only 2 seasons, winter and July. I was like, all right, buddy. He says that's how it goes up here, and he wasn't kidding, because when the weather changes up there in those mountains, my God, it swirls around. It's rough. You'll find out soon enough, Tim.
Yeah.
Well, you're no stranger to that area.
No, I've been here most of my life. Did a stint in across the river and lived in Massachusetts for a little while, but can't get out of the Hudson Valley, man. This place has like it's got a magnet. It's like the ball and chain. You just can't leave. I don't know.
No, you're stuck there. It's it's your calling, and now you're in down Main Street, Pine Bush, Hudson Valley. That's where UFO hotspot.
Yep.
So you're the eyes and ears there for us now. Next week we have UFO Pine Bush historian Linda Zimmerman.
It's gonna be very nice.
That's going to be nice. It's going to be something new. We do have some good guests coming on soon, but I'll tell you what, guys, we have a slot 3 weeks from now with no guest assigned in there, and something hit me today. Like a 2x4. No, I was thinking about having some sort of a trivia-based game with some listeners, and on 2 different teams, maybe Dave's team and Tim's team. And I'm just thinking about what prizes we could give out to the listeners. I have a few really good things I could give out, but that's only what it means to me. I don't know if it's something good to someone else, but I'm going to think about it. And I don't know how you guys feel about it.
You're not trying to clean out your garage again, Joe.
No, but that's a brilliant idea.
Sounds like to me.
It is spring cleaning, right?
Yeah.
Look, it's Italian. It's fragile.
I have a few really good ideas, but I'm thinking I would like to do something like that, some sort of trivia-based thing for some fun. At least it'll be fun for me to get some laughs at the both of you. It'll be hilarious. Some trick questions.
Well, hey, that's nice, Joe.
Yeah, I aim to please.
We like curveballs.
Evidently, Tim, you and I are going to have to get together.
Apparently.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be Jeopardy time. But guys, before the show, we were talking real quick, and I didn't want to lose track on it because I kept the page open. For all the listeners at home, we were discussing right before the show came on the air about a post I put on my Facebook page. And if anyone wants to make their way there, my name is...